Hey y'all, welcome to First Comes Love, Then Comes Marriage podcast. My name is Lindsey Jackson.
And I'm Aaron Jackson.
And this season, we are winding down our final 3 episodes of Love Letters to Our Children. I've enjoyed this time because thinking like I'm talking to our kids as they are adults in whatever season that they're going through, whether it's friendships or pregnancy and marriage and dating and life. We are talking about it like as we're going through it right now in our current state.
Yeah.
So here we are, episode 20?
Yeah.
Episode 20. Okay, y'all. So this episode is about pregnancy. And this is a big topic for us in particular because, we're about to get into it. But pregnancy is one of those things that Aaron mentioned before. Sometimes it's forgetful. Like people say the pains of childbirth for women, especially, it's the memory of the pain is fleeting because afterwards all you are surrounded by is love, and you see this baby that you birthed, and it's like this whole thing, and you forget about the excruciating pain of labor. So with that said, though, going backwards to pregnancy, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it from your perspective as the dad, and how each and every one of my pregnancies, how did you feel? What was happening at the time, so you can talk to your son and actually remember very like firsthand. We just went through one a year and a half ago.
Well, my first question when it comes to all of this is, for you, would be, what made you want to have kids?
It's a good question. I mean, I grew up very traditionally, and where the gender roles of our times were set. So the role of a woman was to then become a wife and a mother. So I actually don't think that I knew any other way now, but also I love children. I mean, I wanted to be a teacher. I got my master's degree in teaching. I love being around children. And then that grew into like, I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I think it's just that I had that motherly nurturing instinct in me. And we talked about this before we got married, but I knew I wanted to have children of my own. I knew I wanted to be pregnant. I had daydreams of how I thought it was going to work out with me being pregnant and me being a mom. And none of that is actually happening, other than the fact that I am happy and we live in this home that's full of laughter and music and dancing. But actually, like what happens as a parent, we can talk about that later. But I knew I wanted to be a mom.
I did not know I wanted to be a dad. I love my dad and I have a great relationship with my dad. And my dad taught me things, and I had a wonderful childhood. But like me, as I got older, I thought about it, but then as I got older, I got married. I was like, let the good times roll. Like me being with you, and it was like fun. Mm-hmm. And so when it came up, I was reluctant.
When what came up?
Us having kids.
Okay.
We were 30 years old. Well, I was reluctant about it, and I think that was the beginning. It was around my birthday when you first started like trying, and it was just like the one thing about being a parent that I know, and I knew about it even before I was a parent, was the fact that it's not about me anymore. Mm-hmm. It's about the kids. And so I didn't know if I wanted to give up that lifestyle that I had, like dual income, no kid lifestyle.
Right. Because our first technically like 3 to 4 years of marriage were that. But let's talk about the pregnancy. That's what we're talking about here. So we're focusing in on what life is like, what your role is, how you felt
Yes,
during.
these go into each other because there's a mindset that I feel like a guy needs to have
Mhm.
when your wife is pregnant or when kids are involved. I mean, if you're going to be a good father. If you're not going to be a good father, it's nothing. So when you first got pregnant, uh, I was excited. But the thing about pregnancy is kind of like there is like a veil of protection to the pregnant person because she's carrying life. And then there's all these milestones that I don't know about and that are like to me now that I'm like 4 kids in, they're almost like arbitrary. It's like, oh, once you get past the first 14 weeks, once you get past the 20 weeks, once you get past the, then it's okay to talk about it, or then it's like this, and it's like, oh, these are her symptoms, but like the nausea is a symptom in the first trimester, and the mood swings are a symptom of the second trimester or something. But she could have
I
mood
don't know about
swings
that.
throughout all of them. It's like, and so one of the main concepts or mindsets that I had to put myself in is a place of just constant patience, constant grace,
Mhm.
almost like servitude. It's like complete servitude where someone could like be treating you wrong, be upset one way, you could do nothing wrong and it could still be your fault. These type of things will happen, and you still have to go out on the other side and still have love for that same person that you might feel like, if you have an ego and stuff, you might feel didn't treat you right.
Mhm.
um and that's parenthood too. Like kids don't treat you right, for like they're about themselves. And
Mhm.
the same thing with pregnancy, like the and this is my opinion, I just feel like the woman has like, was it carte blanche, where you could just like, women could basically do whatever they want. And the men have to be, a good guy has to be a servant because they are carrying their legacy inside of them. So I guess there is a give or take. There is a reward at the end, but that was like the first thing when you're talking about pregnancy for me.
Is your mindset? I
It's the
think it's so
mindset.
funny because you have to wrap your mind around it, you as the man, and it might take you a little while versus like the woman, especially if she's trying to get pregnant or she's already pregnant. Yeah, she has to wrap her mind around it, but it's already happening. There's no, so the first step for me is not like a mind thing because you need to make up your mind. It's not, I can't take my time to make up. It is what it is. It's happening. And you, when you were talking about milestones, I literally like, let's talk about this for a second because there are these milestones that we knew about but didn't really know about for quite some time. And they're like, the milestones are there to help you find a little bit more relief. Like, oh, like you said, after you get past 13 weeks, oh, okay, so now the baby has formed essentially all their elements. And then after you get past 20 weeks, it's a little bit more relief, the anatomy scan. And after you get past, and so it's like all of these steps. And we were talking about it because in our with our first pregnancy with Jack, we were feeling so relieved with each milestone as we got bigger and we grew and we got closer. And essentially each pregnancy is different, but it didn't matter how long I carried because it was 31 weeks
Yeah, ultimately.
ultimately. And we still endured this stillbirth. And so that part of pregnancy is the scary part that I think we carried with us through each other pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like that went forward for, and it didn't matter, you know if, because Action was actually the only one who was perfectly healthy, like throughout the
Smooth, yeah.
pregnancy and throughout, like it was very smooth, it was very healthy, as far as pregnancies are concerned, because Shine ended up needing to be in the NICU for 5 days, and Liv had something going on inside her uterus. And so we had those essential, like, heart pounding moments of scariness. But Shine was, or Action was completely healthy. And still, with each week, with each milestone, there was this like, what's happening? What's happening? We don't know what's happening
Yeah. Yeah.
during the pregnancy.
Yeah. So the milestones, and this is another thing I guess I can say, since like we're reliving it. It's the fact that, like, the one of the reasons we're doing this episode is because everybody forgets. So they remember a little bit of things. They remember all the highlights. They don't remember all the like little details. So when, like, if Liv's going through it, I know pregnancy is a big thing with Lindsey, but like, we wanted to do this episode because there are little things that you could remember right now at this age that
Right.
you might not remember at 60,
Right.
because there's so many milestones that now that they are older, we're going to see you guys get married. We're going to see you all like go to prom, get jobs and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. That, like, this is the beginning of your life.
Right.
Um,
And it's
it,
so crazy because when you said that, it's true. When I became pregnant, and I'm talking to my mom about it, she's removed 30 years from it. And so, you know, it's forgetful. How much are you going to remember in 30 years? And so she pretty much was like, yes, I had a great pregnancy. And she probably did. And I mean, I'm not going to say that, but I
yeah.
have a different experience with pregnancy. But I do remember having you there and how influential. Like, I don't remember beating you up, but I do remember having mood swings. I do remember being hormonal.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember being very emotional. I think I cried a lot. I don't know how you handled all those tears. I remember eating a lot. I don't know how our finances recovered from all of that. But I remember those things.
I remember, like, what, like, I remember the constant, like, just having, just like being a parent. It's like somebody who, and we are at a place of privilege because we are married and we are partners and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like somebody is dependent on you. Lindsey was super dependent on me, just as a sounding board, because of Jack. After all of the, like, every pregnancy after Jack, it was more so like it's Aaron and I. That's how I felt.
Right.
And so it was like she didn't have, what's it, a confidant or something like that,
Right.
to go and be like, oh, okay, and let's talk about this, let's talk about that. Uh and that might, because it was like when we felt like we did everything correct with Jack, and what happened, and it could be a freak accident. Like, I tore my Achilles just taking one step. Like, anything could happen.
And that's the thing about pregnancy, though, is anything can happen. And
Yeah.
I think that sometimes there is a lovely peace that comes with naivety, which is what we felt during our first pregnancy.
Mhm.
We were video recording everything. We traveled. We took pictures. We did it all. And I use the word being naive because I didn't know what could happen could happen.
Mhm.
You hear about, and you don't want to go to the far end of it and thinking about all the bad things that can happen during pregnancy and then consuming yourself with all of that. Um, but I think just like our eyes were opened. And so, yeah, like you said, I was very hyper dependent on you, especially with Shine, because we were in LA.
Mhm.
And so our doctor's office was an hour drive away from us, and I was not driving at the time. So you went to every doctor's appointment anyway with all of our kids,
Mhm.
which is very unusual as well. Like, for the guy to
Yeah.
take off of work or time and just in general go to every doctor's appointment. I think that the thing about being pregnant as a woman is that you have to think about this pregnancy all the time because something is inside of you.
Yeah.
Whereas men, you don't have to. And I can't speak for you, but I know for me is like, you feel like I'm hyper dependent on you because I am I am only doing this. I am like I'm doing other things, but I am growing 24/7. Something's eating off of me 24/7. Something's pushing me 24/7. And something's tickling me 24/7. And so I'm always thinking about it, whether I'm showing or not. And that
Yeah.
was the other thing about me is that I'm not showing for a little bit. So people don't understand what's wrong with her. And that's the beginning part
Yeah.
of pregnancy. It's like for me, you can tell people, but if you choose not to tell people your first trimester, you're not showing, but your body is rapidly changing.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to try to act normal, like be normal, act normal, be normal, act normal. Don't don't have rage, don't cry, don't have outbursts, like, and it is very real, and I remember it, and I'm like, how did people do this?
Mm-hmm.
How do people go about their day and not tell anyone and be normal?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Uh,
still don't know.
so what would be like some key things that you would want Liv to know from 30-year-old Liv, 30 older 30 Lindsay,
Uh-huh.
having a conversation about pregnancies, about the 10 months. Like one thing I want Action to know, Action and Shine, is like it's 10 months. Everybody says 9 months is 10
They
months.
say 9 months is too
Yeah, it's
much.
40 weeks. You could get them out at 38. And another thing I would tell like my boys, like they have to be the advocate for the woman. So like the doctor is paid. It's just like, to me it's almost like a mechanic or somebody who is giving you a service.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore you don't always just have to take what they say. You can tell them things, you can force the issue, and uh if it's not detrimental, because they do have the knowledge, but like you also know your body. If your wife is saying something doesn't feel right, you go to a doctor and they say, "Oh no, it's just this, is just that." You can be like, "Well, no, do these tests. Let me force the issue," and that's really important. I just want you to know that like you have the authority to force issues, to make them run this test, to do these things that sometimes they'll brush it off because like your mom was a fit person, is a fit person. She is a Broadway dancer. She is like she's on the upper echelon of whatever. So when they see a young fit woman and they see like her ankles getting bigger a little bit, they're just like, oh, that's part of the symptoms. But if she's saying something like, no, this feels weird.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, a lot of things are going to feel weird because her body's changing. But just you choose the side of your partner
Yeah.
and advocate. So those are things I would say to Shine in Action. But like, what are some things you would say to Live? I know it might be a lot, but like,
Man, I hope I am able to be that support for her in the way that almost you are to me, because to me you can't have too much support. Even the people that is like you thought, because there were some people with each and every pregnancy, people showed me who they were, and I was like, wow, okay, thank you, I could lean on you, I can cry to you, I can, so I just hope that I'm that for Liv. But as you were saying, you really do have to advocate for yourself, and we know it to be true now, and if it was true then and it's true now, it's probably going to be true for you then as well. But like, Black women and maternal health is notoriously overlooked for symptoms and not really seen as important or vital, or really that they just, it's something that's like, and it is true. It is not like, oh, we're making this up. It is true. It is something that is stigmatized. I really had to advocate for myself, even with even though I had Aaron next to me. And I think that that's what I would tell Liv, to write things down, to remember them, because when you're pregnant, things change like moment to moment, day by day, hour by hour. And so how you're feeling, you're like, okay, this will pass. And then it passes, but it could be very important. And you don't want to forget it. And I remember, with our ectopic pregnancy, I said, something's not right. Something's not right. And I would let it go because I'm very strong and I have a high pain tolerance. And I was taught, joy comes in the morning and weeping only lasts a night, and all of the things that are supposed to get you through. And so I'm like, this will pass. Yes. And also, maybe it's very important. And in pregnancy, nothing is not important. And I think good doctors will tell you that. So whereas I was thinking like, this isn't important, nothing is not important. Oh, you have a headache. That's important. I want you to tell me. Oh, your ankles are swollen. That's important. I want you to tell me. Oh, you're nervous. That's important. Your mental health is important. I want you to tell me. And so that crucial factor I didn't learn until pregnancies later.
Mm.
I think in the beginning it was like, I don't know what's going on, so everything must be right. I'm going to trust my doctor. I'm going to put my entire faith and trust into someone who actually has a lot of patience, has seen this, that, and the other, and doesn't know me like I know me, doesn't know me like my partner, like your partner will hopefully know you. And so,
And that pregnancy brain is really. So I remember a couple times,
man.
like with Action or Shine or Live, uh, you would say something, I would write it down,
Yes, yes.
and when we go into the appointment, and the doctor's like, anything concerned, like anything, and
And I would
Lindsay
sit
would
there
like, she'd be like, no, it's good, and
because I had
then
a good appointment and I was just like, okay, this is great,
yeah,
and would forget everything.
and then I would come out with my phone with my list of like, well, on Thursday this happened, or this is it. And Lindsay was like, oh yeah, this stuff like did happen. So that is another thing that is really true. It's like writing down things, taking my own personal notes, just so like, because it's my appointment too. That's another thing. Like, you could ask questions. It's not embarrassing. You're not embarrassing your wife. You could ask a question because sometimes a part of being an advocate is like, because the Lindsay wanted all the appointments to go so well, sometimes she did not want to mention negative things.
Yeah.
And if a good appointment happens, you it's okay to dampen the mood or ask a question, because there that moment does not equate to the ultimate goal, and the ultimate goal is to have a healthy baby come out.
Yep.
And so, like, how quickly we realize, um, like, how gender reveals aren't important to us, how baby showers aren't really important to us. The reason we started doing blessing ways is because of the energy of prayer and like covering. Uh, and then another thing that I feel like that was really cool, like during the pregnancy, during the labor, is like setting up your room, having the right selection of people that are in the room.
Yeah.
Uh, like, I mean, hopefully, like Liv is with her husband when she is delivering the baby. But I mean, I know it might sound messed up, but like he might not be, if y'all not together, if y'all not married, and like he might not be the best person in that room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not obligated to be in that room, because that room is not about really that child. It's about the mom, and that's a really important thing too. So, uh, if he is not, the same thing with Action and Shine. Like, if hopefully, God willing, this is a conversation when you're in the room with your wife, being the supporter. Um, if that's not the case, you don't really have a right to be in that room if you're going to cause her extra stress, if you're going to debate over, you know, like certain things. And so it's kind of like, try to make that room as peaceful, as serene as possible for the person who's about to put in all the work.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head with that one. Only because I'm like, I remember, we had our affirmation cards, we had our diffusers, which some hospitals did not want.
Hmm.
We had the music, you did the playlist for us. And I mean, but then at the end of the day, my mom was with me for some of them, my sister was with me, and it for me, and again, I'm thinking about my experience. For me, I had 2 days worth of labor. So you're not eating, you're barely sleeping. Whoever's in the room with you is coming along for that ride. And that, if that's any indicator of like the 10 months of pregnancy only to hit the finale with that, that's just should let you know like you want the right people
Hmm.
around you during this journey that is life changing. Because it's monumentous at the end of it. If you're pregnant, whatever happens on the other side of that pregnancy is life changing, whatever happens. And so you just want the right people around you. And
And
yeah.
I also feel like because we did do a doula for Hushain,
Yeah.
we did do a doula, and I feel like a doula was great. And I especially think a doula would be good if you are not with a partner, if you are like a single parent,
Yeah.
uh, or like even like if Action and Shine they can't be in the room, or there whatever happens. I don't want to speak this, but life happens. People make their own choices,
Choices.
but I do feel like if you have a doula that you can be with since the beginning, they could be a really good advocate for you,
Mm-hmm.
and be in that room and know a little bit thing. Because there was one time with Shine that the doula was really helpful, because it was going too fast. His heart rate was slowing down. Do you remember that part? And
Yeah.
everybody came in the room.
It was like 9 doctors came in the room because we had, and this is also another thing that I've learned, you have the right to request a non trainee person, a non new person, a more experienced person, however way you want to put it in the most polite way. Because for Shine's labor, it was a teaching hospital, and the woman was being shadowed by, I don't know,
Yeah,
a non resident or how a fellowship or whatever you want to call this person. And they turned me on a side that I had already told them, I don't like this side. Baby doesn't like this side. I'm not comfortable with this side. And they kept rotating me. They were like, well, we have to keep rotating you. And so that was it. They heard me in one ear and out the other. And our doula, because we didn't hear the baby's heart dropping, but we saw 9 doctors come into the room all at once. They said, hey, so not to worry you. And the doula said, she doesn't like this side. Let's turn her around. Let's do
yeah,
something. Let's do something. And we did it, and Shine picked up, and here we are with Shine today. But yeah, that doula stepped right in because
yeah,
she was like,
yeah.
look now, you're scaring her. And the
She
fear
did
is
say that.
real. She has had previous experience, previous trauma. So appreciate, that you all are taking this seriously. But what can we do to, we got to bring this down? And that is, again, your stress level during pregnancy. I'm a big advocate for keeping pregnant people, like, leave them, uh, let them be, because your stress level should be low.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so at the end of the day, I had, the high blood pressure, preeclampsia, if you have gestational diabetes, if you have whatever it is that comes along because you have an added body, an added heartbeat growing inside of you, the stress should be no. The
Yeah.
stress
Yeah.
should not be a factor because there's so many other things that are happening. And I remember that saying, like, I don't need no stress. Whoever was stressing me out, I would literally walk away from. I would hide. Like if I saw someone, a coworker, because you might be working right now, Liv, or working during your pregnancy. I saw a coworker that I knew repeatedly stressed me out, and I would literally hide. Like I would sit under my station if I knew she was coming in. And this might seem silly, uh, but I didn't like confrontation. This was a grown woman who did not understand boundaries, who could care less if I told her she was stressing me out. So I was like, I got to remove myself from this
Hmm.
situation. I can't. I don't want to deal with it. And she doesn't care, but I care enough about me, my body, and my baby to remove myself from this stressful person. So stress, that was a big like no during pregnancy.
Yeah. And I know I might be hopping because it's just like how my memory is with
Yeah.
this whole thing. It's like I remember after we lost Jack, it was more so like, oh, everybody knew we were trying to get pregnant, and like every month that we weren't for the guy, it's like every time your partner, your wife, I'm gonna just say your wife, every time your wife has her period,
You remember that?
is going to be a period of your life where that is when you need to be the most patient, when you need to be the most sincere, when you need to
Mm,
be the most like I had to be so many like the it's almost like when I'm at work. I'm a manager since you guys don't know what I do. I'm a manager. First and foremost, I'm a manager. I do operations for events, and so, but I manage a team. And truthfully, I can manage a team doing events. I could probably manage a team doing retail. I'm a manager. The thing is really hard because it's a personal thing. But for me, I could not take things that she said or did personally. Like
mm,
I could not take her tone personally because it was really her projecting her frustration onto me. But I knew it wasn't about me, and so that is a thing that I had to learn, like having emotional intelligence and like just being um, us having a great communication with each other and stuff like that. So those things are really important. And the last thing about when people know that you are trying, even though she didn't like the word, I just wanted to say that you have to protect one of the things that you have to protect the way that she was hiding from a coworker. You have to protect her from even like family members or her best friends or
I
that
remember.
will say
Yeah.
stuff like, "Oh, you guys are just stressed out. You guys, that's why it's not happening." Or like just giving excuses and reasons why it's not happening and all these things that she doesn't want to hear. You don't want to hear either, but that is a thing that you need to do where she might be on the phone with somebody that is might be her close friend, but you know that every time she gets on the phone with that person, gets off the phone, she gets upset. So you have to be like, "Hey, I need you to get off the phone because we have to do something or something." Like interrupt that conversation, save them from themselves because, like Lindsay said, she's not confrontational, and so she will have that conversation with that person, knowing that person is annoying her, and then just eat the feelings afterwards, uh, and you would be one of the people that have to live in that space with her new found feelings. So it's like protecting her from herself also because I don't know how it is to like be pregnant and have those emotions and want that connection and stuff like that, but you do know patterns. Like I recognize patterns. I recognize, oh, every time she talks to so and so, she gets on the phone and she's mad. So next time I see her talking to so and so, I need to cut off that conversation
Mm.
and stuff like that. So that's where I was getting back. But you could go back to your trying point.
No, there was no point with that. That
Oh,
was that was it. I just when you said the word trying, and that's the other thing about pregnancy, children, they're very triggering points. And I remember being young and not knowing that because in my head, my life, I was in a bubble and everything was wonderful. And so we can joke about, oh, girl, you pregnant. That's not a joke. People want to be pregnant who can't be pregnant and things like that. So trying like, oh, trying. And some people and certain things are just not jokes because it's real life for people.
mhm.
And that was a word that I didn't like. Similarly to like, when are you due? Because I maybe because of Jack understanding, and again, I did not have therapy after we lost Jack, but I do know that asking me when I'm due, when's my due date, was a trigger point for me because I didn't make it to my due date with Jack. And I was literally like days before my baby shower. Reasons why I don't like baby showers. I had one with Liv and it was fantastic. And I knew Liv was going to be our final baby. So
You never
I,
know. No, I'm just playing. Yes, we do know.
we know. So I wanted to do everything. I remember with Liv, I documented everything. I took all the pictures. I did all the things because I knew, but I still had my triggers and just kind of understanding what those are and being vocal about what they are with at least one other person, which was Aaron. At least one person should understand what you're going through, what's happening with you so that you're not alone. I think that was a really big thing for me with each and every pregnancy.
Would you have another baby? You said Liv was your
Liz, my
final.
last baby. If God told me to have another child, I would. If Gabriel himself came down and was like, hey, yes, I would need to hear it. And he would need to give me 3 confirmations, that sort of thing. Yes, absolutely. I am so happy and I don't want another child. And I remember this. I didn't go to traditional therapy, but I remember the uh, hospital appointed therapy sessions that we had to go through after we lost Jack. And sitting in that room, and the woman was like, oftentimes, and she said it very nonchalantly, oftentimes after you lose a child, you will feel like you never have enough children. So you'll keep wanting to have children. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember having that feeling like we need to have another child. Like I remember, like, I mean, I've been pregnant for the past 5 years, pregnant postpartum, pregnant
Mm-hmm.
postpartum. And I remember saying, we need another child. And people thought it was because I had 2 boys. I love my boys. If I had a third boy, it wasn't that. I wanted a
I
girl.
didn't have a name for it, but not third boy.
I
So
know you did it. I wanted a girl, but it wasn't that I wanted a girl and that's why we had another kid. It was because I did. I kept saying, like, I need another child. I need another child. And I could explore that later. But to answer your question, I feel so good that I don't need another child.
mm.
Now, Liv is only but 19 months right now, and so she's no longer my baby. So, do I want another baby? No.
I would have another child if we had 10 million in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
I would do it.
Sure. If neither one of us had to work and all of our
10,
needs
yeah,
were met,
yeah, 10 million in the bank. That I
that's
would
a
do it.
whole nother
Yeah,
story.
and the boy would be named Rich, and the girl would be named Millie, and
Where did you get Millie from?
millions.
Millie Millions? I
Yeah,
would never link those
Millie
together.
Major,
Okay. Yeah.
because we got it. And my middle name is Richard, so he'll be Rich Major,
That would be
and
amazing.
her name would
You
be
see how you coming up with names like
what?
that? Like the names?
Well, that's because they got the money, and they
Oh wait,
we got the money.
speaking of names, we are needing to tell our children this is what happened. I'm carrying the child,
Mhm.
and I say to myself, Aaron needs something to make him feel more fulfilled during this pregnancy. What can I give him, task, responsibility, to say, this is you? And so I give Aaron the task of naming all of our children each and every time. I'm talking first, middle, and last. I have veto
Well,
power.
the last is obvious.
I mean, I'm just saying. So I do have the veto power because you came up with some names that were left field, but you named all of our children. Tell us about it.
Uh, I'm gonna make it quick because we are running out of time on the spot.
Okay.
And this is a longer conversation, so we might have to do a part 2 or something like that.
Okay.
So let me talk about the names. The first name, Jack, was just like a variation of like Ajax or Jackson. She didn't want Jackson,
No.
so we just like, and my friends call me Jax.
No, they call you Ajax.
They call me Ajax, but
Oh, because
now
then they're
now
like,
that
hey, Jax.
no, sometimes it's like, "What's up, Jax?"
Yeah. Okay.
And so it got cut down to Jack. So then it got to Jack. I was like, okay, I'm naming him after myself, but I did not want a junior because
You're not a junior.
because I'm not a junior. And if I were to be a junior, if I were to have a junior, I always was going to make the second born son a junior because I'm the second born son. So that's how Jack came apart because I couldn't do Jackson. The middle name, I wanted the middle name to be Wyatt for a really long time. Because I love my big brother and I love my dad, and they have the same name. Um, and then it was like Jack Wyatt Jackson, which is good. Jack Wyatt, I really like that name.
I do too.
Um, but it was, I was doing something. I think it's because like MJ. And I was just walking with you, and I was like, "What about Major?" It just popped up.
Yeah.
It was like Major. I was like Jack Major, and I was like, I really like Jack Major. So it was in between Jack White and Jack Major, and I just like Jack Major way better.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how Major came apart. Jack Major Jackson are like, they don't want to call him Jack. He has a whole first name, Major Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And so then after his passing, I made the decision. I said, no matter what, the middle name of the child is going to be Major.
And I don't remember that actually. I don't remember making that decision. I don't remember you making that decision.
That was just my decision.
Yeah, and I love it, but I literally probably was in a
Yeah,
fog.
which is funny because like that's me just being like, even in the midst of my despair, I had the faith that we was going to have more kids.
Yeah.
And so, like I said previously, the second born son is supposed to be, to me, it was like that's closest to the junior, right? And so Action's name starts with an A, obviously. So he has A and J, which is my initials, A and J. And he's the second born son. Major was already solidified, so it was just coming up with the first name. Action was automatic because of Jack, because of all of the thoughts and prayers and the conversations that I had with God. I was having very real, almost like defiant conversations. Me being a father now and just thinking about God the Father, is like I could see Action talking to me the way I was talking to God, and me looking at Action like, you don't know what's going on. You have no idea what's going on. And you think this is like whatever it is. Sorry, that's like a tangent, but it's interesting to me because God is the Father and He does know what's going on, and I am His son. And so me being so defiant, acting like He doesn't have my best interests, is crazy to me. Now that I'm older and I'm getting through and I'm processing differently. So I was like, I don't want thoughts and prayers. I want actions. Mm-hmm. And so another saying here is action speaks louder than words. Like, are you the type of person that is going to hear about our story and be like, oh, I feel so bad for them? Are you going to be the person who hears about our story and writes us a letter or sends us a poem or does something that does? Are you going to move? Are you going to stay still? Mm-hmm. And so that's where action came from. And
I remember everyone hearing that name, even when he was born, and the nurse was like, that's not his name.
Yeah, Action Jackson.
And it's still one of those names that people love or they're intrigued by it, but they're unsure. Like, that cannot be his name.
Yeah, and in fact, even today, he went to the dentist, and the lady came out and was like, Jackson?
And I kept correcting her.
Yeah.
I said, which Jackson?
Which one?
Do you want Shine or Action?
She was so confused.
She said Jackson. And I said, which? And then she talked to the receptionist. It was because it was like his father named him. His father named him Action. We'll
get to the other two because this is a longer conversation. But that's how Action came about.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So this is part 1 of a 2-part series on pregnancy. And awesome naming and coming into the fruition of all of it. We are gonna introduce a poll question. Check the YouTube or the Instagram, and let's wrap her up. So talk to us on Instagram at First Comes Love TCM.
You can always like, follow, subscribe, or on YouTube, it's at First Comes Love.
And you can email us, let's talk at firstcomeslovethenComesmarriage.com.
Talk to you Tuesday.